So my own year has been filled with many milestones, including that I have had a backlift pump for over a year now, and I graduated over a year ago, just a year and a few days ago. And there's the milestone of Riley. She was born on March 25th. We brought her home on May 24th, and counting from when she was born and when we brought her home, she was actually almost 9 weeks old. And there's just been so many other milestones. For example, I had 2 losses this year that I really did not expect. My great uncle Tony passed away on July 31st, and the only side who knew about that was great uncle Tony's side. Every one of us on the other sides were completely floored. And then, let's see, it's been a year since great-grand uncle Andy's death. It's been a year since Pop-Pop's death. My great-aunt Bern passed away. She was the last of my maternal granddad's generation, and there's been a whole bunch of other milestones as well, and obviously for good and bad. And just hearing about the horror that happened to the 3 cops, the 2 in New York and 1 in Florida, we are, as I said before, we are definitely living in dark times, and I maintain that we're living in the end days. And I mean, how else can you describe it? And I have police officers in my family, and I have late family members who served as police officers, and I have family members who serve in the military, and late family members who served in the military, and then also firefighters and healthcare personnel and people along those lines who put their lives on the line every day. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And one more thing too, even though it's tempting for all of us to do this, we shouldn't rejoice in the death of the murderer, because even God doesn't delight in the death of the wicked. Although the murderer did deserve death, and I mean, life for life, blood for blood, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. And so there's that. And as I said, it's just been, just on a personal level, just an incredible year for me, for both good and bad, and just for the entire world, for good and bad, and those in it, just for good and bad. And as I said, I maintain that we're in the end times, and I could recount everything that happened this year to me on a personal level. I could recount everything, well, not everything, but I could recount quite a few things that happened this year besides the horrid murder of the cops, and then just so many other events. And I mean, what else do I say? And I guess ironically or paradoxically, or whatever you want to call it, a lot of these horrors happened during times that were supposed to be celebratory and times of light. And just goes to show that we need light more than ever in this world. And I've seen this a couple of times on social media, including recently on Twitter. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can drive out darkness." And he also said that hate cannot drive out hate, only love can drive out hate. And of course, I'm thinking about the scriptures where, for example, it talks about where some of the Pharisees tried to blame Jesus and say he is a demon, and Jesus said to them, well, how can demons drive out demons? And it's the same thing with, well, how can darkness drive out darkness? And also in the book of John, we read that the light was there and the darkness didn't comprehend it. So there's no way that darkness is going to drive out darkness, and there's just no way that hate is going to drive out hate. We're supposed to hate what's evil and cling to what is good, and we're supposed to judge ourselves as well as others. and we're obviously not supposed to be hypocrites, but we're not to hate each other. In fact, we're to love our enemies. And as I've said, I'm complicit just as much as anyone else over the age of 18 who's competent and who's of sound mind in contributing to the decline of American society and pretty much every other society, since we are such a globally connected world nowadays, and there's just a whole lot of other things to reflect on this year. And I guess that kind of sums up the year, or at least the Gregorian year, that this year, for good and bad, although all things do work to the good, just this year has been a year of reflection, a year to really think about things, a year to remember that we have to number our days so that we can gain a heart of wisdom, and that we don't even know what the next moment holds, let alone tomorrow, let alone the year after that. So, and while we can't necessarily hope for a happy new year, we can hopefully hope for a joyous one. And there's also a link in the description that I want people to click. It's a day that I'm hoping that people can use to fast and pray for America. And I'm not going to make a big issue of what your religion or what your lack of religion is. However you want to fast and pray, or however you want to do whatever you want to do, just pray or fast or do whatever for America and for the rest of the world, including those who support America, even if they're not American. And so that's that. Here's hoping that the next year is joyful, even if it's not happy. And I mean, what else can I say? I think I've said all that I need to say, and Merry Christmas, and, well, hopefully a joyful new year, if not a happy one. And also, people asked me to do a new video for, well, at least one person asked me to do a new video this year for Christmas, so to cover a Christmas song, and I'll see what I can do in that light. And I guess we do need, even in these times, to sing a new song to the Lord, and even when we don't feel like singing to the Lord, especially in these dark times. And even the psalmist said, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will dread no evil. And even the psalmist could have stopped singing in the dark times, yet he sang, and he kept calling on God. And as I said, there's that.